Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video would be talking about how to get into Minerva, and to be honest, I don't know how to get into Minerva. Honestly, you don't get a report on like what exactly that you did that got you in. I'm pretty sure everything counts, but I'll just be sharing some tips on my personal experience, what I did to prepare for it, as it is a really non-conventional university and even the application process is a bit different. So I received like a comment saying they want some tips on how I got in. So I hope this video can help you. And for those of you who don't know what Minerva is, it is a pretty new university that I think you should check out. I'm not gonna like go too into talking about it, as this video is not about that, but if you're applying to universities, you should definitely check out Minerva, guys, and apply. But let's get into the video. So I applied to Minerva pretty last minute and pretty long ago. Now it's been like a year, not a year, but almost a year. So I actually don't really remember too much, but I'll try my best to help you for those who are applying. There are already lots of videos from other fellow Minervans who have applied and got in, sharing their tips. So try to give tips that haven't already been said. So I'm not going to really talk about the application process itself, as all you have to do is just do these 6 challenges. If I'm not wrong, it's 6. You also have to fill out the information about yourself and etc. And you also have to do the activities list, guys. So the first tip I want to give you guys is do plan out time to fill all those out, because if let's say you're applying through Common App as well to other US universities, you already did your activities, right? But for Minerva, they also want you to fill out accomplishments that you've done, and this takes more time than you think it does. So do plan out time for that, as for Minerva, you have to do one section fully before you can proceed to the next. And for accomplishments, there's like certain word limits that you have that's different from the Common App, and you have to fill out evidence as well. And also, accomplishments aren't the same as activities. They want you to fill out anything that you've accomplished, like anything you feel proud of, and it doesn't have to be a official award, but what you do have to do is prepare like contacts that you might want to put in to show as evidence, or pictures. These would take time to do, so do prepare for them. I would recommend, before you get to that section, already fill out the documents. Think about what accomplishments you want to put in, what are the key moments in your life that you're proud of, and just make sure you have enough evidence for it as well, and it's not just like a random thing, you know, because they also want to see proof. Also, wait guys, I remember like when you're submitting, you need to put a contact from your school for them to, I can't remember. Like, I thought I missed like the deadline because of that thing, and I didn't know that was like gonna happen, because at the end you're supposed to put like a contact from your school, like your school counselor or something, and they have to like do something for you to submit it. So definitely let your school counselor know that you're applying to Minerva, and make sure that they're available when you're submitting, so they can like sign it or whatever, or approve it, so that you can actually send in your application, guys. Okay, so I have written some like tips that I have here. I don't want to give like too generic tips or like knowledge that you probably could have read on their page already, or some other YouTube videos that you already watched. But feel free to ask me any more questions that I did not answer in the comment section. But yeah, let's get into it. I guess like the most eager thing that you guys want to know is how you practice them. And while I cannot disclose like what questions they asked, I'm gonna just give you like my personal experience of what I went through and how you might want to do this. So like I said, always allocate like maybe a week to get it all done. I recommend spacing out the challenges, but if you're in a time crunch, you can honestly just get like 2 or 3 done in a day and it'll be fine. I think the most stressful one would be the interview, in terms of what I think that would require maybe like 1 day for you to rest and make sure you have good enough sleep so you can answer the questions. But generally, just be in a good headspace when you want to complete the challenges, as they are under time conditions and you don't get to redo them, so you make sure you want to do it well. So Minerva claims that you don't need to practice for it, but honestly, I think you can kind of practice for everything. But of course, you wouldn't know what exactly would they ask for example, in the interview, but you can still roughly prepare yourself in other ways. There are 6 sections. I'm gonna explain tips that I have for each section according to my memory. So I might not use like the exact terminology, but I'm pretty sure you guys would understand. So for example, in the oh my god, in the creative thinking one, the practice that you can do is go to ChatGPT and ask it to give you practice question based on creative thinking tests. I searched up online. I did not really find any good creative thinking tests, but if you can find some, definitely use them if you think it's good. But honestly, this one doesn't really need that much practice, I would say. But do go to ChatGPT, just ask it to give you some questions so that you can, warm up your brain in the creative side, you know what I mean? Yeah, but this one is not that deep, and regardless, being weaker in one of the tasks does not ruin your chances. It is an overall thing, so just be chill about it and do your best. For math and comprehension, it's not that hard, I would say. Just make sure you practice answering questions quickly and on a time pressure. I think that is the biggest thing, because I'm pretty sure y'all know how to answer these questions, but it's whether or not you can do it under time conditions. So make sure you can read fast and calculate quickly. So that's why I say it's kind of skills that you should already have in order to do this. But if you have time, practice reading and answering questions on the spot. Practice your calculations quickly for the math section, as you need to answer quite a few questions within a short period of time for math. And I've heard stories about people like not being able to finish it or something. I finished it. So just be calm, make sure to have a pen and paper with you, no calculators, but just be ready for it and don't overthink it. Like for math, there's gonna be quite a few questions you have to answer, so just speed it up and answer the question. Don't like recalculate it over and over again, you know what I mean? Like you calculate it, you're done. The first time you do something should be the only time you have to do it. Of course, if you're like, wait a minute, I did something wrong, then check it. But if it's just one question, leave it. Don't spend too much time stuck on one question and have you like miss out, like let's say 3 other questions that you could have gotten right. For comprehension or reading, I don't know what they call it, make sure you're prepared to read longer text, as it was a pretty long text, I believe. And make sure you're meticulous while reading. If you have to reread some lines, like I had to reread some lines to like make sure, do it. Prioritize understanding over how fast you can read it. Of course, you do have to read fast, but I wouldn't consider myself like a fast reader. Lots of people read faster than me. I'm someone who likes to take my time on reading, but make sure you understand, you can grasp what the point of each paragraph means or something like that. The questions might be confusing if you overthink it, so make sure you read it well on the first time and don't overcomplicate it. Just answer the question and move on. When you have time, extra time, then check it again. For the interview section, I would say this is the hardest, because honestly I had no idea what to expect, and neither were the questions predictable or what people would expect it to be. So it kind of threw me off guard, and my practice for it was I went through like basic interview questions and why I wanted to go to Minerva, stuff like this. So the questions in the interview are not typical questions, guys, so don't expect to know what they're gonna ask you, because I feel like if you're like so confident they're gonna ask you this and they don't, then you'd be like, oh shit. So just come in with an open mind, be ready to answer anything. Have a pen and paper beside you to write down notes and your answers and stuff, because they go by really fast. Like, so what the interview would be like a video of the question being asked, and I think it just gets played once. I don't think you can repeat it. So make sure you know what they ask, guys, because sometimes when you're like shocked that they ask you that, you're like, oh my gosh. And some of the questions are like not short questions, they're like pretty long, and you might be like nervous, so you might blank out. So make sure you have a pen and paper beside you and write fast. Write what they ask you in the moment or at least write down the keywords that you need to answer the question, because you don't want to be like rambling on about something unrelated to the topic. I would still say try and prepare basic interview questions, and most importantly, understand why you're coming here or why you want to come to Minerva, and you show an understanding of Minerva, as it is a pretty untraditional pathway. Minerva doesn't want to admit students who are not ready or not suitable for their way of teaching. I don't have a record of what they ask. Just be aware that the questions are pretty surprising, so don't be shocked during the interview. Just keep calm and keep moving. Don't not answer at all. Try to make something out on the way, even if you may like take some time, even after the timer has started. Just make sure to answer your question. This one is probably the most nerve-wracking section, as you're being recorded, and I don't know about you, but I'm not used to recorded interviews or online interviews. So, and like the timer ticking at the bottom, just like extra scary. But don't look at it, guys. Of course you have to look at it to plan out your time, but don't keep thinking, oh my god, I have no time, oh my god, I have no time. Just think about what you want to say. I think, if I remember correctly, they start the timer, like the preparation timer, when the video is being played. So it's not like the video plays, then the timer starts. The timer starts when the question is being asked, and then I think it was like 30 seconds or something to prepare and like 1 minute to answer, something like that. So it goes by really fast, guys, and when you press, and then it just moves on to the next questions. I don't remember how many questions were asked, but like I said, write fast, write down the key terms of the question so you know what the question is asking. Jot down bullet point ideas of things you want to say. You won't have that much time to really think of a proper answer unless you're like really well versed in or answering interview questions. Then maybe it's easy for you, but from my experience, you won't really have too much time to think. So your first thoughts, just write it down. Whether or not you think it's that good of an answer, just jot it down in case you want to say it later so you don't forget. So bullet points, keep it short. You won't even have time to write a full sentence. Follow the STAR method, star structure of answering it. So just keep that in mind. I think the reason why I say practice basic interview questions is just to get into the habit of answering questions in the first place, because in 30 seconds you won't be able to like make a whole structure plus think about the question, So when you are like actually answering the question, like the 1 minute timer already started, that's when you're probably like thinking, how should I structure this? And you don't want to spend too much time thinking how you're going to structure it. So when you already have the habit of putting your answers in the STAR method, then it will be much easier for you to not lose track of the structure or not go too off topic. Generally, don't try to be someone you're not. Act natural. You're human after all. If you want to like smile out of nervousness a bit, or if you're like like it's okay, don't think too much about it. If you did not think of anything during the 30 seconds, just come up with something on the spot and try to follow the STAR method. And I think what would help with that is to already have a list of stories prepared beforehand. So whether or not you use the stories is depending on the question you get, but generally I would say for any interview, have a story bank of things you've experienced in your life that were meaningful, that show specific traits of you that you want to show. So think about what Minerva's values are and how your values align with it. So that's why I say an understanding of why you want to come here in the first place is important, as this just makes it easier to answer the questions. Do some self-reflection to recall the things and experiences that made you you, and just have a refresher on everything that you've been through, your significant experiences. Some of these experiences could be pretty long ago, and you don't want to be only recalling which experience made me into this person. Like, you don't want to be doing that in the interview itself. You already want to have a fresh memory of these experiences that you can elaborate on, not just what happened, but how, but what did you learn from it, how they make you to who you are today. And knowing that just makes it a lot easier for your brain to connect the dots, like, oh, this question kind of relates to this story, I should talk about this story, so I'm gonna bring that in. So it gives you something to answer with. And lastly, there's like an IQ, I wouldn't say, I don't know what they call it, something similar to like an IQ test kind of. It's like those shape recognition thing. I would say if you guys have done like school entrance tests before, they actually give like CAT 4 tests. It's pretty similar to that. So go to YouTube, search up those interview pattern recognition questions. You can find them online, practice those. They have lots of practice questions there, and that would train your pattern recognition. Also for this one, there will be a lot of questions you have to answer. Don't panic, just try to think logically. If you don't know how to answer a question, don't get stuck on it, move on. You can go back to it later. If you have extra time and you go back on the question and you still don't know how to do it, just think of like, how else can you approach it? Because let's say they give you like different shapes and they want you to find like what is the last shape. Then maybe at first you're looking at these 3 boxes and you're like, oh, this is like this is like this is like this, but you're not sure. Then try like to see more patterns. Look at each shape that's in the box itself, because sometimes one shape might have like different shapes and it's just like really complicated and it can be really confusing to look at. But take your time to go through it and look at different pathways, like diagonally, horizontally, vertically, these kind of things, and to try and find the pattern. If it's an easy question or like you think you know the answer, then click one, move on, next. And if you have time, then only go through it again. And when you're checking your answers, don't just use the same logic that you've used to derive the answer in the first place. Because like, if let's say the first time you answered it's C, and when you recheck it, you use the same logic to get the answer, then of course you're gonna get C again, right? But sometimes there might be different patterns that you have not identified. So, just try to look at it from a fresh viewpoint and not using the same logic that you derive your original answer from to recheck it. You know what I mean? So that's all the tips I have for you today. I don't know if I missed out anything. I think I covered all of the challenges. I'm gonna go eat some food now because I'm pretty hungry. But yeah, good luck to anyone applying. You can do this. Just think about it, it's not that deep, okay guys? And just trust that you'll be fine. Don't panic, do your best. I always believe that you'll go when you're meant to be going. So if it works out, congratulations. If it doesn't, there's so many more opportunities for you. It's not the end of the world. So have a good day, guys. Peace out.